So before we delve into Brandon Sanderson's laws of magic, there's a couple of things we need to know. First of all, these are more observations than they are rules, as in there are things that he's pointed out over the course of, I think, 6-7 years over on his blog. And, well, he teaches them both on his podcasts and at Brigham Young, I think it is, which are available online, highly worth checking out. Those are his observations, and they really stand up against scrutiny, so just keep that in mind, that they're his observations, but as a very well-renowned working both as an author and teaching writing, I think they should be listened to. Also to remember that they are meant to increase the drama of the story rather than do something like balance a game. So in many ways his rules can imbalance the magic systems, but that's actually meant to increase the drama by imbalancing the magic. Certain things like making the bad guys more powerful, using the limitations and such, but we'll get to that in just a second. The third thing is that he created these magic systems, but they, for looking at magic themselves, but they actually pertain to all world building. And so keep that in mind and how you can use all of these the rules of his to make your worlds more creative. So the first rule, and I'm going to read this directly, is an author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. Now, this statement is what created the hard and soft systems that we often refer to and are kind of ubiquitous in world building. He didn't create the whole concept of hard and soft. That had been in martial arts and hard and soft science fiction for a long time, but what's important about this is he made it look at, defined hard and soft by how well the audience understands the magic system. That goes back to it being used for dramatic purposes, for writing rather than game building. Hard systems, he pointed out, audiences understand the magic system, and as such they do not mind when the magic solves the situation. If you know what the rules are of the magic, then you say, okay, then he could use those abilities because I knew what they were. If it was a soft system and the audience did not understand what the magic, they would find that dramatically unsatisfying, and it would then be angry. This is kind of the Gandalf conundrum in that, well, if Gandalf was so powerful, why didn't he just magic the hobbits whenever he needed to? Well, he couldn't, because then dramatically that would be Deus ex machina, which is always hard to say, God of the machine, just solving things unsatisfactorily. Things to remember though, multiple systems can exist within the same world. The example above, Gandalf, is soft world building, but the ring, as Sanderson points out, is hard world building in that we know the rules to it, so we know what Frodo is risking every time he puts it on, what it can do, and what are the costs for doing that. And also remember that systems can move from soft to hard over the course of the story. It's not fantasy, but The Matrix is a great example of this, in that it starts off real soft. You don't know what the powers are of the Matrix, what the Matrix even is, and then over time you learn what all the powers are and how Neo is able to use them, and that's why it's satisfactory at the end when he uses his powers to win the day. So that's a great example of moving from soft to hard magic systems and world building. Second law of Sanderson's is that limitations are greater than power. And what that means is that it's more important to the audience what the characters can't do with their powers than what they can do with their powers. So the limitations, going back to the dramatic need for all of this, means that the characters have to use their powers creatively because they're not the most powerful thing out there. This is a lot like Batman and Superman. Superman is all powerful and they just kind of add more powers, and what they are nebulous. He's just the most powerful thing in the world. Compared to Batman, who is just a human and uses clever gadgets and such. So he's kind of the best example of limitations being really important in raising the stakes and the tension, rather than just having powers that solve everything. The limitations are greater than power through weaknesses, which is like the kryptonite, which is how they kind of tried to bring Superman to heel. Costs, as the name kind of denotes, is what the characters have to give up to use their powers themselves. And this gives them dilemmas, and do they use it or not, because there are ramifications and not just limitations, but ramifications. I could lose something, be it my sanity, my strength, something like that, that makes it just easier than just casting a spell because it'll solve all the problems. This ties back again to the dramatic needs of making the drama stronger in the story itself. Third rule is expand on what you have already before you add something new. As you pointed out, a well-developed system with few powers is more interesting than multiple systems existing in the same world. What that means is, if you already have a conceit that magic fire exists in this world, as he pointed out, you can then use it for healing in different cultures rather than making a whole new magic system about healing. Try to work it into how the fire works. That's kind of interconnection and streamlining, which are two of the other things. Streamlining is using those existing rules and in interesting ways rather than building new rules. Interconnection is making sure that everything's all connected thematically. Spider-Man is a great example. He has a whole bunch of weird powers, but they are all thematically tied to being a spider. Superman, on the other hand, has a whole bunch of powers that are not thematically tied together other than he's Superman and can do anything. Extrapolation is the third bit, and that means consider all the effects that your magic has and build them out to their fullest degree. Audiences will consider your magic and then keep building out for it. So you need to do that first to kind of head them off the path to show them that you have actually considered everything and extrapolated it all the way to the end. And the fourth and final hidden rule, and this is I think a reference to Asimov, is to err on the side of awesome. And that means magic is meant to literally inspire awe in the audiences. As the 4 C's of world building had said, compelling. This is a very much wish fulfillment for a lot of people when they're reading fantasy. They're wanting to escape reality as we know it by encountering impossible things. So never forget that the audience wants to escape and encounter these impossible things. That's why a lot of the tropes exist, and we've been raised on them and we like them. And that's because they're all about wish fulfillment. So there you are, the Sanderson's 4 laws of magic systems. Please use them for world building and help build some better worlds.